Welcome to your Research Business Daily Report, sponsored today and this week by B2B Panel from USAMP. Another day, another new research methodology. Today we bring you behavioral economics. Certainly not a new area of study, but it is one that some research agencies are suggesting for market research purposes in order to clarify point-of-purchase decision-making in greater detail. We asked BrainJuicer VP of Behavioral Labs, Will Leach, to bring us an understanding of behavioral economics and current client information needs.
Well, the way to think about behavioral economics is that it's a series of applications where decisions are basically made through context. And when we get in front of context, decisions are influenced. So behavioral economics is a study of that.
We're talking about how and why decisions are being made at the point of purchase.
That's exactly right. And I think traditional marketing and traditional insights would presume that if we create these incredibly engaging brands and create preference for a brand or for a decision, then we just keep marketing to that and somebody will walk up and take a brand. What behavioral economics does is suggest that no, it's not just preference, it's also the environment, it's the context and the way that choices are kind of architected for us. And that context also influences your decisions. And that's what behavioral economics does.
What is different now about behavioral economics from earlier moment of truth types of study like this?
Yeah, I think it's two things. It's one is when you get this insight back about the moment of truth, what behavioral economics does is it allows you to look at that moment of truth with some scientific rigor behind it and say, at this moment of truth, here is a particular bias that we see somebody is falling under. But then what behavioral economics is just now starting to emerge is this idea of behavior design. So now that we understand that there's a bias that somebody is being put under when they're taking or when they're making a decision, now what do we go do to apply that? And that's what behavioral design does. And that's a very new emerging science, I think.
Okay. Now the research you're talking about, I'm guessing, has to include ethnography and anthropology. What else is involved?
It does. It includes those, sociology, a little bit of semiotic and neuromarketing as well. But also what I like to think of is that if context is so important into making these decisions, it's understanding that context without the consumer involved in it is also really powerful. So what we try to do then is go to context first and understand it through a semiotic and a behavioral economic lens, then think about anthropology, sociologies, and some of the more softer social sciences. People and clients have a lot more expertise on hand that they're not aware of. So typical loyalty studies, deep qualitative research that you already have been conducting for the last 10 years, 5 years, you probably have great behavioral economic principle insights. You just don't know how to look at it through that lens. When you think about environmental and social factors, those are a little bit different. I don't think as many people understand those factors as well. And those are where you're going to want to have expertise in that field to bring in, whether it's an anthropologist or a company like a BrainJuicer or somebody else. So the way we typically go and do these projects is that we do start off with very few stores because we don't want to put a lot of costs in the first understanding of hypotheses and coming up with behavioral interventions. But rolling out, you need to have a much broader base and more time in market so you can look at some of these variables and test for certain variables over others.
Okay. And how long does it take you to do a study like this?
Right now, we're trying to do these studies within 12 days from start to finish because we find that it's much easier to get everybody involved and excited about a study. And frankly, what we're trying to do is build quick interventions so we can get to the testing mode as quickly as possible. It's kind of iterations and testing and things like that that really bring out the biggest insights. Hey, it's not an easy 12 days for us, that's for sure. But we find that it is doable in 12 days and actually much more actionable because you get the brand team so excited and involved with this that they want to get into action immediately. So it does actually make a much better case study environment and a more experimental environment.
A quickie news note before we go. A new IBISWorld study estimates advertising agency revenues are going to grow 3.7% this year to $33.5 billion, with profits representing 10% of revenue. Incentive-based pricing structures that include tight demographic targeting to ensure well-focused spending has been a key change for advertising agencies and are reflected in those better numbers. That's your Research Business Daily Report, sponsored by B2B Panel from USAMP. Check it all out at the link beneath this video screen. Have a great research day, and we'll see you all again tomorrow.